Moving back up into the winners bracket, we're going to be looking at a game between QFWFQ, otherwise known as Thomas Hitt, and Morax. 1700 versus 1500. Both of these guys avid ladder players. I do not know which one of them will come out ahead. I guess supposedly you would take the bet based on the rank, but we all know that there are frequent upsets around these parts. Morax is in the left, Thomas on the right, and the map is Via 3 Protectorate. We've seen a fair bit of this one over the years. Basically, you gotta expand, and you gotta expand more quickly than your opponent does. There is a substantial amount of reclaim. Pretty much every single ridge has a complete surrounding of 10 mass rocks that you can vacuum up to either get extra land factories online, or possibly some early mass extractor upgrades, or maybe even both. We are seeing first land factory from Thomas. He's going to be dropping a second land factory, followed by an air factory with a whole lot of P-gens, assisted by the engineer on that edge, with 3 land factories going down. On the right hand side, Morax is going to be going for, I don't know whether that is second or third. That's second air, third land, with a fair bit of power beforehand, so nicely done on that build. We'll probably see an aggressive bomber move out. This map, of course, is a bit too large for the bomber to get there super quickly, so a third air factory can produce an interceptor that can deny a second air factory bomber as long as you're on the ball enough. But we'll just see how this thing plays out. Your right and left expansions are pretty important to get into, not only for the mass that they hold, but also for the mass extractors. There's going to be 6 on each edge for the claiming, in addition to the total of 10 that lies in front of the base, not technically protected by the front wall and choke point. So traditionally we'll see, yep, there we go, move order over to the left from this factory. We'll see building of between 2 and 4 land factories on these mass extractors to flow units to their respective sides. Then usually we'll see another land factory dropped on the outside edge to reclaim all of these lovely little rocks along the cliff edge. You definitely want to be picking those up. In the center, civilian base ahoy with a massive wreck in the middle there. But you gotta deal with all of the T1 or T1 point defense and anti-air in the center. So when you do send air out, make sure you wing it around the outside edge so you don't get caught up in the middle of that firestorm. Morax is moving his ACU over to the right hand side, where he's queued up a total of 4 land factories in a rather haphazard fashion, but we'll let him have it because he's not wanting to clutter up his mass extractors. This means he's probably going to go for an eco build, because when you're wanting to cap your mexes off, you do this. When you're not going to cap your mexes off and you're going for maximum production, you build adjacent. We have another land factory in the middle, which is probably going to be used mostly for reclaim. We've got our reclaim factory on the left with that brave little engineer queued way the hell out for another mass extractor and factory on that side. Meanwhile, on the right, we've got engineers building the forward expansion. Looks like point defense going to try and guard the pass there, and all of those mechs is being claimed post haste. Of course, Q does now know that Morax has an air factory up already. We've got the Air Scout across. Looks like Air Scout being built first for Gray, potentially followed by an Interceptor. Yes, 1 Air Scout, 5 Interceptors on repeat ad infinitum. So that is a pretty good queue up there for a defensive airplay. Morax down at, well, no, down because he's behind in points, but in actuality, the mass income is higher for Morax, 17 to 15, and we've got 260 versus 240 on the power income. 2 engineers building energy in the base. Now, I do know that you're going to want extra power on this map because the T2 phase sneaks up on you like all get out. When you don't build enough T1 power generators, you end up reclaiming yourself into eternal power stall, and then it's very, very difficult to recover later on. I have seen panic building upwards of 50 T1 power generators at a time with multiple engineers on the build simply because somebody forgot to queue enough power early on in the game. Looks like Q is building a pretty substantial amount, but only off of one engineer, which leaves me questioning how exactly he is going to get up enough power to make these shifts. He's balanced, that's for sure. We've got 66 to the negatory in power with 20 in the hole on mass. So what that tells me is he's reclaiming a ton and spending all of it. If he wasn't reclaiming, he would not be power stalling. But of course, more reclaim and more power is beneficial. One of the reasons that he dipped so low all of a sudden was because he went to 4 engineers on the power generator build, which consumes a ludicrous amount. That's minus 30 energy per engineer for 120 total in the hole. So you gotta build 6 T1 power generators just to sustain the building of the P-gens from those Engies. That is completely insane. Q's got some raiding units up on the front here. Engineer is going to attempt to reclaim on the Mantis, but that is going to be unsuccessful. Unfortunately, Morax does not have the units to respond, so he's probably going to end up losing his center expansion on that edge. On the north side, a similar push from Morax, but Q does have enough tanks to deny that incursion, so that's going to put him in a bit of a better spot overall. Morax queuing some engineers around the north to perpetually move in and try the raiding. Something you can do on this side, if you get this engineer or this factory up in the clear where you're able to produce units without them all instantly dying to a wall of Mantis on the front side of the factory, all you have to do is go for, I think it's 2 T1 artillery followed by engineers, attack move to the center, and the artillery will move up to range, kill the civilian point defense, and then start wrecking the buildings, and your engineers will go straight to the center and reclaim the fabricator. So you really don't even have to put any extra thought into it whatsoever. Looking at the map as we move on, Q has got a lower overall steady income. We've got 25 mass per tick, 24 to be precise, although power stall is making it a little bit difficult to read, so 30 seems a bit more reasonable. 6,000 reclaim on the dial. Morax at 5,000 reclaim, so a little bit behind on that, and also I think, yes, borderline power stalling, although he is doing a little bit better job trying to manage it than his opponent is. 4 engineers on the power build in the back there as well. So perhaps 4 is simply the magic number for how much you have to build in order to get all of this power online. What on earth is Morax? Morax has got 200 additional power on top of what Thomas Hiet's got. That means that he is able to spend much more reclaim, even though he is lower in total right now. As he streams more engineers out and gets this mass in hand, he'll be able to spend it a little bit better than his opponent will. And we're seeing that reflected in the score right now. 43 or 39, depending on how you look at it, mass per tick versus 33. And again, that 200 power surplus over his opponent. Take a look back here. He is full, but he's spending all of it. He is free to get an upgrade whenever he wishes, and he is balancing quite nicely indeed. Looks like Q is there as well, but again, he is still trying to play catch up. Oh, we've got a T2 air factory online. That's going to bump out a T2 power generator, which will boost him up substantially on his power supply. Over on the other edge, I don't think that is, never mind, that is a T2 land factory being upgraded, so a T2 shift is on the way for Morax as well. These guys stand in line neck and neck as far as map control and poking and prodding go. Thomas Hiet knocking out the expansion on the left-hand side, having to contract a little bit. Morax does have a more substantial unit count, but Thomas is in a pretty good position to defend. He's got point defense down in the critical areas. He's got enough units on tap to be able to rein in a lot of this nonsense, and I would not be surprised in the slightest to start seeing some gunships coming out here to start trying to exert some more control. With this T2 power generator, Thomas is immediately going to jump ahead on power, but dang, that stall though. 1.5k, 1.1k rather. Why does it jump so absurdly? I think probably because of the reclaim in the back there. That's going to be 1.1k versus 920, and he's already got the second power generator on the way. One of the issues he is going to have, though, is catching up on unit count, because while he does have a similar number of land factories in total, he has not been producing for as long, and I may even need to retract that statement. Let's go to Morax. He is rocking a total of 27 land factories, and we've got 19 for Thomas. So I take back what I said. That is about a 50% advantage in build power towards Morax that's been producing for quite a while now. So this is going to cause a dilemma if Thomas is not able to get his act together and either get some tech up, maybe go for a hard T3 factory and some loyalists, or go for the gunships and try to even everything up. Looks like Morax has got a couple of jesters in the back, although let's take a look at the air count. We've got 11 interceptors versus 14, but Thomas also has 2 Corsairs in the rear, and he's building 3 additional air factories in order to try and get the upper hand on air control. That is a hell of a lot of T2 power queued up there with a flak built in the base. So I think what's happened is Morax has scouted this T2 air factory. He knows that there are shenanigans afoot, and he's going to get this flak up just so that if Thomas comes in and tries to kill off some of the stuff in the base, he will be able to wrest air control from him for sure. The amount of units is now too damn high for Thomas to deny. This is looking a bit bad for Gray all told, but the Corsairs are coming in, picking off a couple of units there. He's being forced to use those T2 bombers on the incoming units. Not exactly an advantageous thing to do, because Corsairs are quite bad at hitting multiple targets. They're excellent at single target removal or stationary target removal, but when you've got a bunch of mobile units, unless they're like this, come on Corsairs, there we go. About 8 units in one pass for that bomber. That was well done indeed. Thomas has now got security on the right, but on the left, seeing the lack of units and seeing the ACU in trouble, Morax is pressing his advantage over here, claiming this entire expansion, putting him ahead in mass by quite a substantial amount. But we now see a total air domination in the favor of Thomas, who is now winging around with T2 gunships in addition to his bombers. So that is going to go quite a good ways towards assisting with this land loss. Of course, we will see mobile flak moving up eventually from this factory, but right now it looks like it's all about them engineers for the build power in the back. Corsairs still looping, interceptors coming in to meet their doom in an attempt to take out 1 or 2 of the bombers. T1 units still trying to get around all of the leaky edges that Thomas has left open, but I think that this is going to eventually get closed off. We've got a T1 point defense there, we've got the gunships online, total air control in the hands of Gray, and we're working on a T2 upgrade for Thomas that'll allow him to get some point defense down on this edge and make this a little bit more secure on the left as well as the right. Morax has got breathing room though, and breathing room means he's got map control, he's got extra reclaim, he's got the eco advantage. Overall, 23,000 reclaim versus 22 is closer than I thought it would be, but I think we're going to see that number widen as time goes on, and Morax is able to reclaim all of these outside edges. Corsairs coming in on the units again. Gray continuing to pile up those interceptor numbers. We've got 2 additional air factories planned for Morax as he realizes that he has to get back in control of air. Thomas now probing a little bit on the southern edge with some of his units, but he simply doesn't have the numbers yet. Should have kept those back as a defensive measure, because now he's got some overflow on this edge. He has brought T1 land factories online to try and assist with the numerical advantage, and Mantis on the ACU going for the snipe. Morax under 1,000 health. Oh dear Lord, Morax, why? What the actual crap? Morax might be my best misclick ever. Oh dear Lord. Okay, so that was an even game with Morax slowly pulling an advantage, but he left his ACU all the way on the front line, knowing that he had no air control, knowing that his opponent had Corsairs and gunships. That was a critical loss. Good Lord. Wowzers. All right, well, that was definitely a game. I'm gonna close this one out. Well played to both of these people. Unfortunate misclick for Morax, and we are gonna go find ourselves in another game. The next round is going to be out of the losers bracket. Round 3, if I do believe correctly. Yes, it is going to be Plasma on the north versus Koiskix in the south. Both of these players Cybran, of course, and the map is Cobalt Valley. So there is your reclaim map. This is a pretty familiar ladder map to anybody who has played in the 1 versus 1 on the FAF client. You've got 4 mass extractors, a bit oddly spaced right here, with the hydro relatively close by. This is the distance for the hydro where you start getting into a little bit of sketchy territory. You can either do a traditional build where you go for your factories around the mexes and you build your 5 power generators and you know the drill. Or you can do what Plasma's doing, where you build 1 power generator before the mexes go, 4 mexes walk up to the hydro and then build. Or you can technically get away with a straight hydro rush like Koiskix is doing on his side, where he did not build a single power generator, has instead gone for 2 engineers up to the hydro, and he is going to be able to finish that hydro without power stalling. So there's several different early builds you can make on this map. You pretty much just got to find the one that does the best for you and then move on from there. Plasma's going to drop an additional T1 power generator, then the hydro, and I would imagine that is because he is going to go for 2 land factories, 1 on each side of the hydro, and then probably an air factory after that, if I had to guess. Maybe number 4 would be an air factory. It is relatively unwise to choose to go for no air on this map. I have seen it done before, but air factories are frequent enough that you really want to be able to defend yourself from bombers. So we'll just see how both of these players tackle it. Plasma stringing out a rather extensive manual reclaim order on the back end of his base. We do see a similar thing down here for Koiskix. Then we've got a left side mass extractor with a handful of rocks on that edge with a point defense and a radar going up on the left flank. Well placed there, although I would probably put the radar just a tiny little bit further back from the point defense. That is going to help close off this avenue of access to your opponent. And then on the right, we've got similar things queued for the NGs, while Plasma is moving up with a raiding party. Now, both of these guys are 1500 rated players, and as we've seen in past tournaments and in continuous play, both of these guys are very, very capable. And when you see capable players both doing the exact same thing, and that would be in this case a point defense right here, you can pretty much assume that that is a decent thing to do. So maybe throw that into your build order for later on. As predicted, Plasma throwing down 2 land factories, although not with the adjacency that I thought he would. Perhaps there is something wrong with the terrain there that prevents the building. Nope, he's gonna go for a 3rd land factory off of the hydro. Nice. And then we've got the air factory after an additional 4 T1 power generators. So what we're gonna see here is a very scant power build, just doing the bare necessities, the good old bare necessities to keep your production online. Mantis moving up right there. Strategic retreat from that engineer is going to keep it protected as these other Mantis deal with the threat. And then that NG will be able to move back up and claim that mass extractor. A little bit of a run by over here. Leg up to be had by Koiskix's. That's a difficult thing to say. Yes. Okay, I got distracted by chat. I'm sorry, guys, but it's a little bit too late for betting, so we're not going to do it this round. Yeah, a little bit of a leg up on Koiskix's Mantis, and it did make it through, but it was met by a solid wall of units from Plasma. And yeah, that poor little guy is going to have to call in sick tomorrow for work. We've got a pretty good situation on the right for Plasma, I think. Although, with these 4 tanks moving up, that might not be quite so good. Plasma's going to have to divert some units, and he has. So I'm thinking that probably he has seen... Maybe that was intuition, but now he does have them on radar. So once he gets all this moved over here, he will be perfectly safe. Looking at the south side, we have got a total of 5 land factories coming online. That's going to be 5 in an air versus 5 end in air. So equal production, equal mass, equal map control. And yeah, it's all going to come down to slight maneuvers, the effectiveness of certain tanks, and things like the fact that Plasma Wolf doesn't have all of his center mass extractors, where Koiskix does, but at the same time he did hold his expansion for a while, whereas Koiskix did not. So it is anybody's game, after all, as we move forward. Plasma is quite a bit behind on both his 5th land factory and his air factory. Both of those are complete for Koiskix, and I think a large part of that has to do with a little bit of extra reclaim on Koiskix's part. That is, these were not reclaimed for Plasma, and they were for Koiskix, and also some of the rocks and things back there. So that is the difference that a little bit of reclaim can make in your games. We've also got these engineers up here on attack move orders that are just vacuuming up tree clumps as quickly as they can go. Plasma still pushing units in on the left-hand side, which is going to result in near 0 casualties for his opponent as he loses several Mantis on this edge. So that was a bit unfortunate indeed, but we do have the same thing happening on the right-hand flank. Plasma moving back out to get those mass extractors in hand, and that is going to result in pretty much the same old. We've got roughly 50-50 map split with about the same amount of eco. We are in a pretty dang good spot. While we're in a relatively chill moment, let me pull this up. We're going to set focus army to 0, which is going to give us Plasma. Plasma is rolling with 25 mass income, 280 power, and a 9 mass stall. And if we take a look at his tanks, he has got 29 Mantis, so 27, 29. And then we can go over to set focus army 1, 21 mass per tick, so a fair bit behind, mostly due to losing a couple mass extractors over here and this one right there for Koiskix, and he is running 23 Mantis, 19 mass per tick, as he slips yet further with the loss of that mass extractor on the front edge. So what we're seeing is the very, very slow and grindy accumulation of units for Plasma in an advantage over Koiskix. It is definitely not over yet, but when you're running about an 8 or 9% disadvantage in unit count with a pretty decent disadvantage in economy, you gotta do something different, you gotta do it quick. Otherwise, you are going to get yourself in a pickle. Plasma has successfully controlled his entire side. If you look at the 50-50 map split, he owns every single mass extractor north of the 50-50 line. And on the south, we're missing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mass extractors. So that is a 10 mass advantage towards Plasma right now. We're also seeing a fair bit more units come online. 2nd air factory and 6th land factory coming online for Plasma. As he is biting into the reclaim, he is building a little bit of extra build power. We've got 6 total land factories, so that is going to be equal production in land for both of these guys, but a bit of an air advantage for Plasma. And of course, he's going to be able to run his stuff a little bit better with that reclaim. But on the right side, what have we here? A run by that's going to claim a couple of Plasma's mass extractors, an engineer over on that edge, and then push yet further towards the base as he struggles to shoot units over to that side and make up the difference. We've also got a bad engagement for Plasma on the left as he was swept from the side by a flanking maneuver. Koiskik's able to bring a lot of units into contact with a few of Plasma's at once. That is going to give him the firepower advantage despite having fewer units in total, and that is going to give him control back of this area. Plasma does have a nicely placed radar there, though, that lets him see exactly what is coming from the back end, and that's going to let him anticipate how far he needs to withdraw before he regroups and how many units he needs to send in that direction. So looking again at the map on the 50-50 boundary, missing 2 on this edge, missing 3 on the southern side. So things are pulling back even once again. Plasma is going to gain the upper hand on the left, and that's going to let him push down just a little bit more. So this is settling in for the long and stagnant haul. I'm not sure whether either of these guys is going to attempt something like a T2 shift or a T2 AC or a T2 Mex upgrade, sorry. I would love to see a gun upgrade for one of these guys. That would be a good option to go for if you get a little bit of extra power in your pocket but not much mass. It's a relatively cheap upgrade that can have a massive impact on the field if you're running equal unit numbers. A difference here as well, Plasma is getting his ACU into combat right now. That leaves Koiskik's open to try and push the left side. So that's going to free up some reclaim for Plasma as he instantly vacuums that up to try to add to his bank account. Plasma's going to withdraw just a little bit over here, and that'll give him the opportunity to build these mass extractors once again. The brave little mantis that could, though, that son of a diddly is going to get right up in the back there and try to kill any oncoming engineers. I don't know. Yes, Plasma does have a radar here, so he will be able to pick that up, know exactly what's going on. Hopefully he can deny that kill, because it looks like he might be a little bit distracted right now. Nope, there's the movement. Engineers pulling back, and Mantis to the front to eliminate the threat. Well done indeed. So that's going to be a total, yes, 6 land factories to air. And there it is. The T2 shift that we've all been waiting for. Odd that the T2 units would be moving over to the side with the ACU, but I suppose we can forgive that. Well, yeah, that probably does make sense because the ACU is on the left. So if he's able to get 3 or 4 rhinos up in the same spot, that is going to be a rather interesting surprise for Plasma, who is, as of yet, not building any T2 upgrade and isn't actually running his additional air factory, oddly enough. Perhaps he has decided that he doesn't need that air so much after all. But we do have an extra land factory over here that's producing engineers to get some reclaim. Does Plasma have overcharge? That is the question, and I think the answer right now is no, he does not. So when these T2 units start hitting the field, you are going to need a lot of overcharges in order to make up the difference. Oh dear Lord. Oh no! Not again! No! Koiskik's shedding health rapidly, already down to half HP as he gets swarmed by those units from Plasma. Plasma is going to withdraw and not risk a hit from those units, but that is going to take Koiskik's ACU out of battle for a while as he recuperates that health. That was a hard hit to take right there. Well done, Plasma, taking the advantage on that one. Oh, dearie me, we've got hoplites out. That's going to let him hit these units from afar, out of range of the ACU's overcharges, as long as he doesn't run them in too much. Plasma with those rocket impacts will know that there are T2 units on the field, so he either needs to get a move on his own T2 factory. There's the T2 upgrade started immediately after the overcharge is built, giving him the tools that he needs to overcharge any oncoming rhinos. But it does look like hoplites are the name of the game. We've already got 4 of them in the field with a single rhino online, more producing from the back. That is going to put Plasma's ACU in danger because those hoplites are able to kite him out as much as they very well please, but Plasma is going to push into the base right here with his units, killing off mass extractors on the right-hand flank as he pushes Koiskix further back into his own base. We've got units moving up to the north. That looks like a pincer, yes, on the commander. He's going to risk his own ACU, pulling it as far away from the fight as quickly as possible as he closes in on Koiskix's commander. And I think that is going to be game if Plasma moves all of his units in on this ACU. 2400 HP. It is a race to the finish, but Plasma has vastly more HP at his disposal to survive these oncoming units. That was a brave play, but he's targeted the ACU and a veterancy has saved him. Plasma's in danger. 5,000 health, 700 on the enemy ACU as he continues to run. Plasma, you gotta run in, don't target. No! 200, 500 health. Wow! What the crap was that? 400 HP remaining on Koiskix's ACU. Plasma knocked from the freaking tournament on that game. Wow. That was a troll of epic proportions. Huh. Okay, so what I was seeing at that was that Plasma's units were attacking directly this ACU. They were only walking up when the commander moved out of range. Huh. Missed them with 100 bits. Appreciate it, man. Saying Morax is forgiven. This one was worse. Plasma is saying that his units froze. I don't know which one it was, but the RNG gods have handed down a verdict. And Plasma's out. Koiskix advances. That was absolutely brutal. Completely brutal. I don't even know what to say after that. Well played. That's what I can say. Well played to both of these guys. That was very good and evenly matched early builds going against each other. Well done on the rating all the way around, the unit control, poking and prodding, constant changing of hands on the map. Overall, a really good game to watch, but dang, that ending though. Moving on in the losers bracket, we've got a map that I cannot show you the mini-map of because it is very oddly shaped. I believe it is 5 kilometers by 10 kilometers, if I'm not totally mistaken. I am pretty sure that those are the dimensions. We've got God King Xerxes on the right-hand side and Bulldozer Noob on the left. Of course, both Cybran. The map is open Zeta. And if we look at the reclaim map, we've got a few boulders out in the front and the densest group of trees that I have ever seen on any map in my entire life. So basically, if you attack move engineers over this way, as we see God King Xerxes doing right now, although that is a misplaced order since it is a move order, then an attack move order instead of just an attack move order. If you're able to do that with an engineer, you're going to be able to suck up tons and tons of reclaim. The disadvantage being that your base is going to be helter-skelter. So you've got 2 mass extractors in the back, you can drop a land factory, get all this stuff in progress. Then you've got 2 mass extractors in the front and your Hydra way the hell out here, which is very odd positioning indeed for a map. Then you've got 4 mass extractors accessible on the right-hand side, and then if you kind of split the map right here and say, well, this is kind of defendable, then you've got 7 mass extractors at your disposal, same on the other side, and the rest of it is up to map control. This is a very oddly playing map, and I've not watched pro-level players playing on it in quite some time, so it'll be interesting to see how exactly it goes. So there we've got the attack moved engineer in the back. Bulldozer is going to use that to balance out his power requirements as he builds 3 land factories to start, and then we do have a raiding party heading out to the right. We've got a Mantis with a Land Scout, and same dealio, although that is a Hunter, sorry, Hunter with a Land Scout on the south. So that's going to ping right across through here and try to pick up an engineer on that edge, as well as sending out a guard to the north to prevent the same thing. Sorry, to prevent the same thing from happening to the right. So, Bully Dozer's looking like he's planning on about 7 land factories, and I do not see an air factory planned out yet, which leads to an interesting question of what is his plan for air? Because I would assume that at some point, yes, there, we've got an air factory over here. At some point, there is going to be air in the mix, and I don't know what's going on over here. They're talking to each other. No bomber rush. Strange. Nope. Apparently they were expecting shenanigans to be afoot. Alrighty then. So I'm anticipating a little bit of a slow start. First bomber will kill the expansion, he says. Ah, there's multiple people in here that are observing. That's what it is. Who is this noob and Angry Waffle are talking to each other? I understand. So that's going to be 4 land factories planned, with a 5th being an air factory on that edge. That is matching up versus 7 land factories, 1 air factory, and I'm a little concerned about Bully Dozer's ability to run all of these factories, but to be fair, there is a lot of reclaim over here, and he is queuing up more engineers over to the other side that will be picking up all of these tree clumps, and he does have some manual reclaim queued for the rocks on that edge. Total mass extractor holdings are going to be around 8 that can be granted, so taken for granted rather, so that's going to be about 4 factories in total. So 5 would make more sense, but I think Bully Dozer is planning ahead here and saying, you know what, I am going to get my grubby little mitts on every bit of the mass in this map, and if he manages to do so and has all those factories rolling, well then, God King is going to be in some trouble. Up here on the north side, we do have a Mantis in play that was waiting on a hapless engineer to move on over, and there is one scheduled, but those are going to be picked up. I love the amount of the land scouts in this mix. This engineer is going to pick up a mass extractor and a factory build over on that side, and what do you know? That might be a kill. Yes, that was a kill for the mobile anti-air on that Mantis. It's pretty funny. Not often that you see that happening. So that's going to bring our total land factories up to, oh, and he's building 3 more right here. So God King is not going for as scant a supply as I thought he was. Oh, that is rude. Rude. Trampling all of the trees so they can't be effectively reclaimed. That's going to be a total of 7 with an air factory. That brings him even with Bully Dozer, and then an 8th on the outside edge, which it looks like Bully Dozer is not going to do. But he is getting an 8th over here, and a 9th and a 10th. So lots and lots of land spam coming this way. Alrighty, I would love to know exactly how much reclaim there is total on this map, because there has got to be a lot. Look, even down this side, there's thick forests over this whole edge, and then every single one of these rocks is 5 mass that's not labeled with a 38. So I mean, there's like 300 or 400 mass just right here, another 200 or 300 over there, and then like 400 mass on each side of this. This is ridiculous is what I'm getting at, and Bully Dozer is getting more than his fair share of it. He is getting quite a bit out of the middle, as well as reclaiming everything on his side. Alright, God King getting that factory in place. Let's go ahead and hit up our set focus army command, so that we can see what the ecos are looking like. Our 0 player is going to be Bully Dozer. That is at 21 mass per tick, 300 power, with 13 running for the deficit, although 24 is looking a bit more like it now that he's not dipping into reclaim. That is a hell of a stall, stalling at 100%. We've got 30 Mantis to his name with 4 artillery, so 23 and 30. God King Xerxes, we can go over here and take a look. 17 mass per tick, so 6 behind on that. And he is running on 23 Mantis, so slightly behind all the way around. But like I say, every game, it is not the end of it yet. There is still plenty of room for things to swap up. And I am going to try to remember to actually get this thing set. There we go. All right, looks like Bully Dozer is making a move on the north. He does have the unit numbers to his advantage, but that was a little bit of a bad entry into the clump there. God King is going to back up just a little bit and everything will be fine. We've got engineers over here reclaiming. This looks like one of my reclaim orders, not a reclaim order that should exist. I don't know why he is attack moving after the move order on every single one of these. That seems very, very weird. But if he simply attack moved right there, he'll be able to sit here and reclaim every single tree clump out to about there, which would go much more quickly. And that is what he's doing up on this side. You can see how much better this is working out for him. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but we'll hope for the best. That is, oh dear Lord, that's a lot of land factories. Holy cow. Why are these guys scaling so much on such a tiny amount of eco? Let me go take a look at this. So he's floating in the middle of his mass storage, already up at 4,000 reclaimed and 21 steady income. So with his reclaim, he is not quite being stable, but it is working out for him. So I guess we'll leave him alone with that. ACU taking a bit of a hit there on that edge. Then we go back over here, floating in the middle with 5, almost 6,000 reclaim on Bully Dozer's edge. So I kind of like Bully Dozer's build more just as a personal preference because it isn't going quite so overboard, but it's odd to see this mess right here. This is going to be a bit dangerous. Bully Dozer pushing his units all the way up into the production, and now the ACU is over to the left with a clump of units. There's no intel on the center, which means that God King has no idea that there's so many units moving in this way. He's going to have to move all these tanks back over here to make up the difference. Bully Dozer dropping a point defense and a radar on the northern edge in order to stall out any units that come in from that direction. Bully Dozer could have swept this entire area. I think he just didn't have the intel for it. Now he does. He sees how few are over there, and he is going to make the dive immediately. So well played on his part. Push over here. No idea that there's a point defense, although that should be on radar as gray blips. Now that he does have some moles in range of it, we need that point defense to go down before all those units are lost. More things pulled in from God King towards the middle as he moves his ACU back up towards the north, but that is just going to leave him wide open for ingress on the south side. This is not good at all. We've got the hydro going down. We've got power being stripped away as quickly as possible. That's not going to be the end of the world, of course, because there are loads and loads of trees out here, but it is definitely not going to help. All those units swept aside. We've got a T2 mass extractor online for God King. I doubt that we'll see the same over here. There is one upgrading, but that explains a fair bit of the unit count discrepancy, because if God King was getting that T2 mechs that early and devoting this much build power to reclaim, that's not even reclaiming anymore because I think he forgot that he should move it over. I love how these guys have actually made a trail through the woods where they have trampled every single tree flat. That's kind of hilarious. It's not going to go well for him, I think. Does he have? He has three freaking T2 mass extractors. Holy hell, dude. That definitely explains the discrepancy. So let's take a look. Set focus army to 0. That is 25 on the dial for Bully Dozer, and let's get a unit count as well. 25 mass per tick with 92 Mantis in the field. Holy hell. Let's just call it 120 units of importance. 25 mass per tick, 10k reclaim with 120 units. And then if we go over here, we've got 31 mass per tick with 10,000 reclaim, almost there. and then about 75 units of importance. So that is not as much of a deficit as I thought there would be, and he is actually ahead on eco. This is somewhat of a different maneuver than I usually see, especially on this map. So basically, you've got one player barely surviving, but getting a lot of early income up so that he can go for a T2 factory later and get extra units online. And the other player is just going straight T1 spam, using all of the resources that he's gathering to build more units. Once he runs out of reclaim, he is going to be in trouble if, and this is a big if God King Xerxes is able to survive. The bad thing is, Bully Dozer has a stealth gun comm, and God King is completely unupgraded. You can see him immediately pull an about face and run in that direction to get the hell away from that ACU. Because if he gets anywhere in range of that, he is dead as a freaking doornail. So the ACU is going to pull back slightly, then run forwards. We've got all the units coming in from the north side, and an excellent pincer maneuver to force Bully Dozer back away. Time will tell if God King is able to hold up against his opponent. Looks like no, that I thought that was going to be an assistance on a T2 factory upgrade, but no, it's just a massive clump of engineers hanging out over on that side. If he were able to assist that, that would go quite a bit better for him, I feel like. We've got 6, 7, 10, 15, 16 factories on the right-hand flank as the unit count dwindles in the face of that gun comm. And that's going to be up against 5, 9, 12, 13 factories on the left. I don't like the looks of these jesters, but then again, there's a pretty good amount of interceptors on the right. I think enough to deny a snipe, so we're in a pretty good position overall. So 3 additional land factories on the right-hand side with superior economy, with almost equal reclaim. God King is making out very, very well for himself in a surprising fashion. This is going to be a lost cause, though. He is sacrificing way too many units into that group. This is going to leave God King with a massive pile of reclaim, I'm sorry, Bully Dozer. But God King is getting his own reclaim on this side, although incoming, here comes the ACU. I think God King sees it. He is moving over to the other edge. Please, for the love of all that is holy, do not get trapped by that ACU, because it will kill you. Oh dear, Bully Dozer's almost in range. God King, no! He's under fire and his units are too far away. I think this might be game. God King fleeing to the south, trying to get away. All of those jesters coming in for the ACU. There are 7 in total, and that is a hell of a lot of damage. Interceptors have got to move in now, but God King throwing out the G as those jesters strip away his HP. He's trying to move his interceptors in to swing it, but no, the Mantis trap him on the wrong side of the rock. He was trying to play Ring Around the Rosie with the gun comm, but that is not going to work out for him. God King goes up in a flare, meeting nuclear oblivion, and that leaves Bully Dozer at very nearly full HP. Dagummit. Alright, so evaluation of the game after the fact. God King did better than I thought he would. When I saw this going on in the early portion of the game, I couldn't figure out why his unit count was so low in comparison, but it was those 3 T2 mass extractors in the back. Now, if the game had gone on a little bit longer, we may have seen God King pulling back even with Bully Dozer, because he had extra units, extra build power to get more units, and he had superior economy, and he had almost identical reclaim. However, Bully Dozer having that 25%-ish advantage in unit count, and the gun commander having spent all of his eco on more units and better combat capabilities, was able to sweep in and take him out. I think the difference in that game was probably like 3 minutes. If he had had another 3 minutes to run those extra factories and to get himself situated, Bully Dozer would have been screwed, because Bully Dozer would have been running out of reclaim. But pushing when he did, Bully Dozer takes it. I got to throw out a G on that one for him. Well played indeed, Bully Dozer. Moving on through the tournament, and God King Xerxes knocked out of the losers bracket. That is going to wrap everything up for this video, guys. If you enjoyed it, feel free to drop a like and share it with someone. If you want to support the channel, catch the streams, or join the Discord, check out the links in the description. Thank you all for being at least partially insane, and I will see you in the next one.